Dr. Dustin is going to be talking about the necessity of anger for the divine masculine activation. And so hopefully he doesn't get us too pissed off, because then we're going to have some fun. Guys, give it up for Dr. Dustin.
Good evening, everyone. All right, I got my timer here, so I want to get this right here. Yeah. Okay. I have my practice in Pasadena. I have my degree in clinical psychology, and I work with families and kids. So what I want to talk about is emotionality and how it ties into the divine masculine, a spiritual principle. We have two, the divine feminine and divine masculine, and how anger plays a role in that. So, on a map, you are here. We know that. So we're in we go hiking, we go to the mall, we go in a new subway. We're looking at the map, and what are we looking for? That's right. That little thing to say, you are here now. And so then from that position, you can tell, I'm here, and then you know where you can travel to next. That gives you a bearing, right? And this is essential, I think, for us as adults and as kids, for us to understand, to know thyself is to understand, where are you at? Where's your psychology at? Where's your mind at? And where are your emotions at? This is what is called emotional intelligence. So it's one where how readily and how quickly if someone said, how are you feeling? How quickly could you answer that question? And could you situate yourself and say, right now, I feel nervous, right? I feel nervous right now because I'm in front of all of you. Or right now, I feel calm. Can you just say that right from the bat? And so this is what is known as emotional intelligence. So you can gain your bearing. So on a map of where you're at, you can say, I am here. This is where I am at. And there's a key word in that, is the I. We're looking for this I, okay? So when someone says, and we all have to learn this. I mean, I had to learn this too, but when someone says, how are you feeling? Well, I feel like I want to run. I feel like I want to go for a run. Or I feel that there needs to be more world peace. So when someone says, I feel, then a like or a that comes next to it, you're not talking about your feelings. You're talking about a thought. So we need to go back to feelings. And this is really important. I want us to get us there. And I'll get there soon. And we also have to remember that all feelings are not good nor bad. They just are. They're energy in us, right? It is the action that we do when we have the feeling that then labels what can be helpful and what cannot be helpful, okay? So, Daniel Goleman talked about emotional intelligence. He did a lot of research on this, and I think his name, another doctor, was Ekman, and he did about how do we know what emotions are and what are the labels of them. So back in the day, probably, I think it was in the late 90s, they came up with 5 kind of basic ones, and now it's expanded since then, but we as a species and us as women and mankind, we do have emotionality, and we can label them. Okay, so this is what I teach everybody. There's 5 basic ones. So when I say how you feel, you can put up and you can try to pick which one it is. Okay, so the first one, happy. Okay, sad, right? Anger, scared is fear, and shame. Those are the 5 basic ones. So when I ask you how you feel, it would be really nice to say, well, okay, happy, sad, I'm calm. That's part of happy. Or I'm really annoyed right now. That's a lower part of anger, right? Annoyed, frustrated, that's a lower part. A higher degree of anger is rage, right? So that can help then on the map of your psychology of where you're at, if you can say to yourself, well, I feel sad right now, or I feel a little blue, or I feel embarrassed right now. That's a big deal to say that to somebody. Like when you're in front of somebody, that's a very vulnerable position because you're calling upon your inner energy and your I to communicate that process. So far, so good? Yeah. Okay. So we have the 5 basic ones. Now, emotionality is intrinsic to who we are as a species. Has any of you have heard of the still face experiment by Dr. Tronick? Okay, yep, the baby. So, and I'm bringing this up because this is essential to understand that our species is emotional. So to intellectualize it or to push it away, it can't happen. It's part of our limbic system. It's in our brainstem. It's all part of who we are, okay? So in the still face experiment, there's a little baby that's pre-verbal, okay? So this is all of us because we were all pre-verbal once. We didn't talk, we grew to talk, right? We grew into talking. And so the mother, the baby's in a high chair. The mother's right in front of the baby, and they're just connecting. Like the mother's opening her mouth, the baby's there. They're just there's goo and guying going on, and the baby's reaching out, and the mother reaches out, and it's just like this symbiotic, wonderful, caring relationship that you're seeing on the video. Okay, and so this goes on for a minute, and so the baby's really connected. They're having a good time together. An emotional bond connectedness that the mother and the baby are having. Then in the experiment, the experimenter tells the mother to turn her head away and then drop her face. No reaction. Dead. Instantly, the baby realizes it right away and starts reaching out. You can see in her face she's confused, and then she kind of reaches out like, and then she points over there to try to get the mother's attention. She's trying to pull the mother in like what they had. The mother still doesn't respond. And then the baby begins to, you can see her composition starting breaking down. And she starts, her skin starts changing to red because she's about to cry, and she starts breaking down. And she keeps trying to reach out and then yells and screams really loud to get the mother's attention. The mother still is a still face. And then the baby finally just breaks down and starts crying. So then the experimenter tells the mother to reconnect, and then the mother, comes back to life, connects with the baby, and then in about 30 seconds or so, then the relationship is repaired. Okay? So this is an inferential position in us that we are built for that face-to-face human emotional connection. That's what helps us develop. Okay, so I'm saying that because that is scientific evidence that we are emotional, and we need emotions in our lives to develop and grow. And this is really important too, I think, in the freedom movement, how emotions are important in our freedom movement because it ties into spiritual principles. So I know sometimes in the spiritual movement we can move into spaces where like we can become selfless or egoless or boundaryless, right? And emotionality can be dangerous or messy, or we don't want to go there. And this, I think, is a detriment to us because, as we did in the circle, which was so powerful, is understanding that we are to be fully in ourselves is such a dynamic force. And to know where our emotionality is helps us clarify that. So then it sets up boundaries in us. So the death of the ego is, I think, a sense that can lead down to, like I was just saying, a really poor path to not move us into the divine masculine. I'll show you how that connects. Because suffering, what is real? I mean, it's real. It's a real thing. There's people by people that are in authority who think they are and think they're gods on earth that can do things to us and pull us under their spell and actually create massive amounts of suffering. And if we are in a position where we are like stuck in a yoga position with our eyes closed and trying to like zoom out of here and astral project out of here while there's people dying over here. I mean, it's a lost cause, and so we will lose on that. So I think that's what I'm trying to put the energy into if we understand our emotionality. So again, so emotion does not necessitate suffering. I think an understanding of not understanding our emotionality does. And it does not help us delineate from I am over here and you are over there. So let's talk about anger. Anger is unique because it sets a boundary about what we care about. There is a sense, too, where, right, say we have a dog or a child and something's happening to that, we take action instantly in our anger to protect. It is an emotion that stirs up in us when there is injustice, correct? It is emotion that pulls us into activation to protect. And if we don't know, we feel anger, or if we've been told something by our parents or our family that anger is not something to be used or thought about or worked with, our divine masculine activation is going to be very low. Anger helps protect and keep love moving. So the reason why I talked about the emotional intelligence at the beginning is because every one of you as adults need to go on a journey to understand how you're feeling in the day-to-day. How, what the environment has brought to you and how you're feeling about that entrance into your world, how you're feeling about that. And if we don't understand that we're feeling some way because of some injustice that's happening, we cannot articulate and take action to move forward. I mean, it's logical, right, as I'm saying this? Does that make sense as I'm moving forward this? We can't take action forward unless we don't know where we're at, okay? So the divine masculine is a sense where it's interrelated to the heart. So the Trinity is the mind, the heart, and the gut. This is our Trinity. This is the Father, the Mother, and the Son, right? And the divine, the princess, the divine goddess, is one that has a tremendous amount of care. It's the green. That's why it's with the green, the heart, and their chakra. It's a green color because the green means care. That's why our money, the U.S. money, is green, because it becomes the care of all. We wake up, we think about money. We go to bed, we think about money. It's this one eye system that connects, because the green is an unconscious way to get us trapped in. But green is actually a color of care. That means what we allow people to live how they need to live in their lives, and then when and then we give nurturance, and then we give support in that process. That is what care is. But before you can be angry about something, you need to care about something. And before you can understand if you're angry, you need to know what even anger is, and you need to know who you are before you step into that realm. You see how they're all connected? So as the care is in the heart from the mother and the Trinity, the mother gives birth to the son, the action. It bursts through to create the action of the divine masculine. And the divine masculine is another way of saying the self-defense principle. This is what that means. And all of us in this freedom community, I think that's really essential for us to know as we move into this space, because we have so many people that either are confused and don't know. In Freemasonry, the checkboard at the bottom of that, the masonry sketchboard, it's a black and white checkered floor. That is a symbolism for having a checkered, immoral position that is the unbegun, the unknown. They don't know where they're going. They're either white or they're black. They actually are not in line with truth and understanding esoteric ideas. We have people that are in the checkered position. It is our responsibility, I'm saying this with a lot of energy, it is our responsibility to move into that space so we're not checkered, so we can actually say what is truthful, so we can actually know what we care about, so we can actually then protect it. It has to go in that loop. So as as it gives birth to this divine masculine energy, it's all in all of us, right? These spiritual principles are in both male and female, and it's a balance of those. Then we can move into a space of creating freedom and creating love. Love, freedom can only exist in a balance between divine femininity and divine masculine. It can only exist in that space. The divine feminine allows it to live, support, care, and generous. The divine masculine protects against violence. That's how it works. And then if we understand the divine masculine, what that means is, and I don't have this here, but it helps me kind of clarify more, force versus violence. So violence is what is done against an innocent person unwelcome. That's violence. And that's an action that's taken. Force is what goes against violence. And that stops violence from happening. And we all can take the action of force, and we all have that right if whoever starts it, if you don't start none, there won't be none, right? Does that make sense? So if we move into if someone moves with violence against us, we have every right to use force up to deadly force. That is the divine masculine. On the lower end, it's a no. The lost word, as Passio talks about in his work, it's the lost word. And so on the least we say no. That is the divine masculine, us saying no when there's a position in us that when our heart is seeing that love is being damaged, we say no. That's the activation of the divine masculine. And then the movement of up to deadly force. And so that's what we as a freedom community need to have, that in our space at all times, where we can be gracious and loving and caring. A teardrop, a two-sided teardrop, when two circles intersect, that's called the seed. And when that is the center. And in the Jewish star symbol, it's two. It's a male triangle and a female triangle mixed together. That is then the enlightened. That's the Solomon's temple. That's an enlightened position to be in. Yes, and the heart chakra, exactly. So all these symbols keep telling us the same thing. Just love people and then stand up when evil's in front of us. And that's how we progress freedom. Right? Okay. So I think that's going to be it. So I'll stop there for the evening. But yeah, thank you.
Can you repeat the 5 basic emotions?
Yes, I'll do that again. That's a good question. So, and I'll say something about that too. So we got happiness, we have sadness, we have shame, we have fear, and we have anger. Those 5. Now it can get more complicated than that, like it can, but that just helps kind of ground you. And oh shoot, I forgot what I was going to say about that. But yeah, those 5 emotions that's the basic ones, and that's where you can help know. Oh yeah, the last thing I was going to say is, out of all of those 5, which one is not difficult to feel? Happiness. All the other ones, they're difficult to feel, and they're difficult to share in front of somebody because that means vulnerability. So our emotionalities are just difficult by themselves. That's why we have a hard time with it. Okay. Exactly. Yes, of course. Yeah. This is. No.
Why is it so complicated?
All right, guys. Have a good night. Thank you.